So this lab question is about having things follow with other things that are moving in your scene. And the question was, is there an easy way to get the text to move along with an object? I'm going to make a new sequence, and you're going to want to be at 1920 by 1080, 24 frames. Frame rate is really optional, but 24, you'll get a nice smooth motion. And I'm just going to make my duration 10 seconds for this. This will be my basic shape. Now remember, I'm just doing shapes, simple shapes, so that you can learn more quickly and easily. And always remember, first thing you do is you set your anchor point. I'm going to have my anchor point at the center for this motion. And it's going to move across the screen. I want to make sure that it's off of the screen. The mouse scroll wheel you can use to zoom in and out, or you can change your zoom over here. So it's off the screen. And remember the 4 pillars of motion design. You can get to them through the transform of your layers. And it's position, scale, rotation, and opacity. Those are the 4 basic pillars of motion design right there. And you could always use P, S, R, and T as your shortcut keys. So I'm going to do position. I click there. And remember, the longer this takes to go across the screen, the slower and smoother the motion will be, if that's what you want. I am dragging, and then I'm holding down Shift. There's my motion path behind it. And there's my basic speed. I can then click the word to get all the keyframes. Remember, if you click the stopwatch again, you'll lose all your keyframing. And I'm going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And if I want this to come into a slower resolution, I click the speed graph right here. Remember, dragging away, you're going to go slower into there. You can see it gradually slow down. Dragging towards, you'll speed into it. And remember to grab the yellow influence handle, not move the yellow square. The yellow square is your keyframe. It's how much is happening. And the influence handle changes the velocity in or out. So if I want this to speed faster out of that first one and slower into the second one, that's the way that would look. I'm going to move my render bar area right here, and we'll review that. We'll pretend that's the motion we want. Now, I know yours is slower, but I'm just doing this so that you can see what's going to happen. I'm going to do something basic, and then we're going to get more advanced, because that's what this course is all about. It's about pushing ideas. If I want it to be this distance away from the main object, I simply grab my pick whip to parent and drag it to the object I want it to follow, or I could use my drop-down menu there. Now it is perfectly following that shape. All I had to do was parent it. I'm going to hit undo, because we're going to get a little bit more complex now. If I go to effects and presets, text animation, presets right here, there's a whole mess of presets. Now, it's always better to do your own custom animation, but I'm just showing you a few options here. I'm going to put Ocean Tide on this text. Now, I want you to remember, wherever you have your playhead when you're using a preset, that's where it's going to start your animation. Okay? So now we've got that life. I want it to be this far away from it, and I'm going to parent it one more time. See? Now we've got something more interesting happening already. And if you go, oh, I like that, I'm going to hit the U key on the layer, and it's not showing me any keyframes here. So that one is an anomaly, because you can see it's working off of sliders for that preset animation. So I'm going to get rid of all of those. Actually, I'll just hit undo. That's the faster and easier way of fixing it. All right, so now that motion's gone. We want it to be about that far away. Let's try ripple. So I'll throw that on there. I'll hit the U key. Nope. And you can see what that type is doing. This one won't work as well, but I'm still going to parent it. And there you have it. And you can always move your keyframes closer together if you want to speed up the effect, or further apart if you want to slow it down. So that's one fast way of working with your text. Now, if you want to get something more custom, I'm going to hit Command Z to undo this. You can put a wiggle on this. So let's do P for position, And let's try something real fast here. I'm going to get experimental here. I'm going to go into my text animator. Under range selector, I'm going to go advanced, based on characters. I'm going to add a wiggle here and see if I get an individual character wiggle. Now I'm going to do something subtle. I'm just going to go 1, 25, click out of my expression. And you can see the whole title moving now. If I animate the offset, we're starting to get something interesting happening. So I'm going to set my offset back to 0. I'm going to ease this a little bit. And let's try clicking the stopwatch after we have the expression in. And then moving this down a little bit. And then I'm going to animate my offset. So you have the wiggle going on and the letters moving individually. And I clicked random order on. See, now we're getting something more drastic happening. And then if I want, in addition to this, I can click the position for that layer and then add an expression on top of that. We'll do wiggle. I double clicked in there. Let's do 1, 25 again. Click out of my expression. Now I've got something more severe happening. So I want to be that far away. I grab my whole layer, pick whip it to the shape, and we've got that happening. So I'm just showing you some options on adding expressions using the text animator. And while we're here, I saw you had some waves in your project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shape layer right here. Hit save. Let's try wave warp. Okay, so you see what it did automatically. I'm going to hit my spacebar. I'll scrub through, and it's automatically making sine waves. You can adjust the wave height and the width, obviously, as you see, to get the look you want. You can even change the direction and the wave speed. So I'm gonna hit the spacebar, and if we want that to be slower, I can just adjust that. And now it's moving a little slower, so if you want to be a little bit faster, you've got the wave happening. Now watch what happens. This is going around everything. We talked about masks earlier. You need to have a shape or a layer, basically any layer that's selected, and when you draw a shape or use the pen tool, that's how you make your mask. A layer has to be selected first. Remember, when you're working with shape layers, this icon here is your shape layer. This is to make a mask on a shape layer. And remember, with masks, add what's inside will be added, subtract what's inside will be subtracted. So now you see the basic shape changed because of that mask I added to it. So you can get a custom wave this way. I'll delete that mask. I have it selected, I hit backspace. Now you see that happening. So if you've got multiple waves, and you notice as this moves, it affects the image as well. Let me zoom out. Make this a little bit bigger. So there's your wave, and you can even put texture in it if you want, using alpha mats to add some interest. I'm going to use this watercolor texture. Remember, the shape you want to use as your mask goes above. I always use the expression, you put a mask over your face. Here's the shape, there's the texture. So the shape that is going to be used as the mask is above. I click the texture below. These are my modes. This is my modes. Click switches and modes. Here's your switches. I want to be in my modes right here. And under track mat, I do the drop down with the layer I want. And there is my texture inside the shape above it. Okay? So if you want something like this, I could then Select both of these. I can pre-compose it. I'll call this wave. Move all attributes. So now this is one file. I can then hit Command D to duplicate and throw curves on it, darken it a little bit so we can see what's a little bit of depth and interest here. And I will then move this a little bit and offset it, and I can even scale it up a little. So now I've got that unified texture. The color darkening this, actually the darker one should be behind to give it that sense of depth that you can see, but I'm still going to put it on front so you can see what's going on. I'll select both of these. I can right click, go to layer styles, drop shadow, add some depth to it, like such. So you could do like painting in there, whatever you want to still have that wave motion going on. See, now that's happening. Or you could do it the way you have it, but both work. See, like that. You could always go into your composition and change it. Get different shapes with the effect. It's all up to you as the artist. Pinning will pin your edges. See? Now they're flattened out there. You can choose which edges you want to pin to. See, the left. Now you've got the wave going across. Phase. I'm going to click that. Go forward. Remember, the first number is full rotations. The second number is a specific amount of degrees. Let's try 3 for that. Make it a little bit more obvious what's going on. See, now the waves are moving backwards. You could change the quality of your aliasing if you want. I'll adjust the direction. Now they're moving forward. Now, let's try something a little bit more interesting. Let's keyframe animate the height and the width and have them go up and down. Hit the U key so you can see where my keyframes are. And then I'll copy these first frames, paste them in there. So now you've got the wave height and width changing over time as well. Just showing you a couple of options here. Go back to our composition. See? Now we've got a totally different look. Let me hide those waves real fast. Now I want to try one more thing while I'm here. There's a path I just drew. I'm going to get rid of the fill, and I'm going to add a stroke. And I'll make this much thicker so we can see what's going on. So we've got a stroke, and I went to my add. See how wiggle paths is giving us some variation as well. I can customize my look by increasing the size. Instead of corners, I'm going to want smooth. Detail will add or subtract some detail from it. Wiggles per second will be how fast it's moving. Correlation, you can see what's happening there. You could animate that over time. And remember, try going in different directions, like up and down in your numbers. See, like that. Let's change the phase to it. Remember, the first number is full rotations, the second is a specified amount of degrees. Now we're getting much more life and character with it. Now let's try Spatial Phase. 5 for this, just so we can see what it does. Remember, you could always pick a big number and then dial down. Random seed will randomize the look. See, and there you can see the detail changing over time. You don't want it to be too detailed, or else you'll eat up all your processing speed. And that's just a few examples of doing waves and things following along, and a reminder of various things you can do to text to add some interest to it. I hope that helps. Remember, the fastest, easiest thing is just using parenting. So if there's my text and you want to have it follow the blimp, you just simply grab your pick whip, drag it to the layer you want it to follow, and it will follow along with it. I hope you had a great holiday and have a great weekend.